like to make some announcement concerning our final examination. I would like to make it the final exam on Thursday, the coming Thursday, because the next week is the last week and I want to make it on the last hour. And today's lecture will be the last lecture. And then we'll arrange the meeting for presentation of your term project that you made it. So whenever you finish it, we'll arrange one date and you will make the presentation date for it.
So you mean our final exam will be next Thursday?
Yes.
1st of May, right?
Yes.
Is it going to be during the class time?
No, it's a 30th of April. It's Thursday, 30th of April. It will be during the class time. Yes, very true.
But 30th of April is Wednesday, not Thursday, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
sorry.
No, it's Thursday.
Thursday.
It's Thursday, that's correct.
It's a
Do you
Thursday.
mean final? Sorry.
Yes, I mean final examination. That will include the following chapters, lecture 6, lecture 5, lecture 4. 3 lectures
30th,
will be,
okay.
okay, 30th of April will be the final examination. And then
Can
we'll
you
have,
repeat the chapters one more, please?
I'm gonna put it, it's lecture 4, 5, 6, last 3 lectures. Islamic retail products, Islamic corporate products, and Sukuk.
Thank
Can we
you.
shift the exam to another date, please?
What's wrong with that date?
I have one final and 2
I
projects.
have 2 finals during that day.
Actually, I'm also have final at the day.
The sound was lagging. I couldn't hear. Are you talking about final exams?
Maybe Tuesday?
What about the Tuesday? Not the coming Tuesday, 1 week after Tuesday. Yes, you mean?
No, 28th.
Oh,
Tuesday.
28. For me, it's okay. I can go with the 28th of.
What about others? Do you have finals? Because on 30 I have 3 finals. It's a little bit hard. I can, but it's hard.
Okay.
Maybe after 30th of April.
For me, 30th is fine.
What about 28th?
I have group project.
Dana is writing the 28th is okay for her.
Okay, guys. Let's make it then on after the 30th, because I see that somebody is watching for 28th, but somebody is busy with 28th and 30th. Like some of you have got the final exam. It's better to make it on. What about Saturday?
At what time?
Yes, it's okay.
Saturday, the 2nd of May. The timing will be same, 2:30.
We have
Yes.
state exams next
Oh,
day.
I have
so
another class exactly at 2:30 at Saturday.
Maybe another time, not day.
Okay, timing.
I
Then
have final examination on Saturday from 2 to 3:20. 1 second, maybe.
everybody has a final, and this is the
Профессор,
final. Yes,
профессор, у нас
state exams.
стейт-экзамены будут
в субботу.
в воскресенье и в понедельник. И нужно будет хорошо подготовиться к ним.
Okay, what about Tuesday? Tuesday on 4th, no, on the 5th of May.
Давайте тогда, да.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Tuesday, 5th of May, okay? Can you see the calendar here?
Yep.
So during the class hour on Tuesday, 5th of May.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Everybody's agree?
Yes.
Somebody's chatting. I agree on the 5th. Okay, 5th is good. So we are arranging the 5th of May, the final exam, the lecture 4, 5, and 6. The Islamic retail product, Islamic corporate product, and Sukuk-based products. Great.
Sorry, where can we find the quiz question? So just to.
Okay, I'm gonna share. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm gonna share. Actually, you can ask even the friends that they attended. The questions were straightforward. It was to explain the murabaha. It was the murabaha, yes. letter of murabaha and how the coronavirus affects the letter of murabaha. How the pandemic of the coronavirus is affecting murabaha issue.
Ah, okay.
Professor, somebody is chatting here this question: what type of examination will be? Like multiple
Questions,
or-
I will ask some multiple choice questions. And
Okay.
I will ask, it will be maybe 40 to 60. 40% will be multiple choice, 60% will be this open essay questions, given the
What
definition
about
and some
extra
critical
points?
questions. What extra bonuses?
No, like extra questions, maybe or not.
No, nothing. No, there's no extra questions. There will be exactly like 100% questions.
Okay.
Sorry, one
No,
more question.
there is a calculations, definitely. There will be calculation.
I apologize. I have a
In
question
multiple
regarding.
choice, you mean?
No, in the multiple choice, I may ask in the call. We'll see it, okay? Either in the multiple choice, it doesn't matter. In any way, you'll have to calculate to come up with the right decision. Yes, Gauhar, you were asking some question.
I have a question regarding presentations. So, are the presentations going to be held during next upcoming classes? I mean, presentation of our group project.
For the projects, so as you said, you have got exams, yes?
But
Yeah.
during the
So
class
because
time,
I said the end, have you finished? The project is not much difficult. You had to finish it even a long time ago, once you collected data. It's better to make the during the class hour to just to finish it before the exam, before we run the exam actually. So let's make
maybe
it
then April 28th.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on Tuesday for the project. Let's finish with the project on Tuesday.
Will everyone present during the whole class time? Like.
Yes, because we don't have much student and we don't have that much project actually. Everybody will take 5 to 10 minutes, all groups, and that will be more than enough.
Sorry, do you have a draft for PowerPoint presentation?
The draft should be, you talk about the country that you present, you talk about the bank, what kind of products they offer, and you talk about the results and what suggestions you can give. That's it. Like 5-6 slides. The most
Извините,
important.
у меня
About 4 banks information, right?
Yeah, banks, about the 4 banks information.
Okay.
у меня интернет, я не услышал, как будет выглядеть final exam?
Multiple choice and open-end questions.
I see. Okay, thank you. So numerical questions will be in the open end.
Yeah, and the numerical, you will see in the multiple choice as well, the numerical questions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And talking about the presentation, should we explain how we did empirical analysis, what hypothesis we used, and what we rejected, what we approved?
Yeah, in the analysis, yes, but I don't need to know how you calculate, but I need you to talk about the results. Is it significant? And if it's not significant, why it's not significant?
Sorry, how can we explain that results are not significant?
We already did it in the class, like I wrote it from the beginning, from A to Z, like all the hypotheses.
But the reason?
The reason, probability value. You're comparing the probability value with the level of significance. If the p-value is more than alpha levels, then it's not significant. If it's less, it is significant. This is the reason.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
One more Question. For instance, we regressed using some years, like well, some students we used years that were financial crisis, but some of us used like, for instance, currency devaluation. Yeah, devaluation. So, yeah. So, like, should we do explanation for that as well? For instance, we do как уравнение же делаем, типа ρ там b0,
Equation,
b1.
okay.
And so should the years be included there as well? Or we have to just see like coefficients and say how negatively or positively it affected the overall?
If you use the years, you have to explain the years, how the years affecting the ROA and ROE, because the years are representing the dummy variables, and it shows like how specifically in that year the banks are performed, like did they earn any profit or not. If it's affected negatively, it means that year it was kind of crisis year.
Okay, so it can be not part of the уравнение, да? Там же уравнение же строим, but just we have to explain.
It should be part of the year. If you use the number of the years, it should be the part of the equation.
It should be. So we have to do without years and with years then?
I don't know if you get the good result. We said that you're gonna use the years in case if your results are not good.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you pay attention to APA style and the number of pages for the paper?
For presentation, there is no like limited number of the pages should be actually. You should give me information about.
No. I'm talking about the final paper, our research.
There is no limit on it. Like you should give me the background review about the country and the banks itself. You should give me the methodology that you used it and empirical results with the conclusion. That's it. It may take maybe 5 or 6 pages, but without any plagiarism.
Professor?
Yes.
I took 2 years for Jordan. It was 2009 and 10 because I made the research and there was inflation those years, and the results for the conventional banks are negative. So
Okay.
is it okay that just took 2 years?
Yes, good. Like you explained that during that inflation years, the banks underperformed, and this is the result how the years are affecting negatively.
Okay.
If it's significant.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, John. Can I
Yes.
also ask those questions? So as I understood, by Tuesday we have to prepare the presentation and the paperwork for the presentation, right?
Firstly, you have to give me the presentation. The paperwork is the due is 30th of April.
Okay, got it. Great.
For me, the presentation on Tuesday, the due of the date of the paper is 30th of April.
I got it. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I will move to lecture. Okay, so far we've been talking about the Sukuk, and we said the Sukuk is divided into 2 main categories. Is asset-based Sukuk and debt-based Sukuk. In asset-based Sukuk, the basic feature of it is the payoff goes to investor, which is linked to the performance of the asset. And when it is debt-based Sukuk, it is the payoff to the investor that is linked to the credit risk originator of the Sukuk. So let us talk about the last thing that we talked is it was Sukuk al-Musharaka, Mudaraba, and we were about to move Ijara and Wakala and so on. So coming to where is it? Here you go. So according to AOFI, these are the certificate of equal value issued either by the owner of the leased asset or a tangible asset to be leased by promise, or they are issued by the financial intermediary acting on the behalf of the owner, with the aim of selling the asset and recovering the value through the subscription. So subscribers are the investors with the principal amount they're giving to SPV issuer, which is Islamic Bank in a general basis. So the issuer of the certificate is the seller, and the subscribers are the investors, we said, and the funds that are used comes from the subscribers to purchase that asset. So the certificate holders jointly own the asset and share the profit or loss if it happens. The certificate holders jointly will bear the loss according to the contribution what they made it. If somebody invested 30%, the other one is invested 70, the loss will be pro rata. So it is permissible to set up a parallel ijara on a tangible asset by employing the same description of usufruct that is provided to the holders of the sukuk. So there are some forms of the leasing based on sukuk is permissible. The first one is purchase leaseback, purchase lease, and head lease sublease. So purchase leaseback, under this structure, the leased asset is purchased and leased back to the same person. When it comes to purchase lease under the structure, the asset is just purchased from the third party and leased to another party. So there are three different parties are involved. So there is no lease back issue. And in here, in the third one, head lease, sublease, under this structure, there are two lease contracts. The first head lease is through which the leased asset is taken on lease for a long term, say for 50 years. And the second sublease, under which the lease is leased back to the same person whose lessor is the first lease, the head lease actually, for the short period, say for 5 years. So these forms of leasing are allowed actually. So in here we can see that issuer of SPV is issuing the prospectus, then inviting the investors, the potential holders of the sukuk certificates. So they transfer the payments of the principal amount to the issuer of SPV. After that, the issuer of SPV transfers the certificate of sukuk to the investors. So from that, issuers of SPV is making a contract sale and delivering the assets from the originator of the contract. So once the contract is delivered from the originator, let's say the asset is delivered, whatever is the car, is the building, whatever, any property that can be leased, any commodity that can be leased is delivered from the originator, and he pays some spot payment to this guy. After that, there is an ijara contract taking place between issuer of SPV and the originator. And the next step, this guy is paying, delivering the services. And while using these services, the services are compensated by using, look, it's a lease back property, you see? It was leased here for 50 years, and now it's being leased back for 5 years, let's say. And from that, they're receiving the usufruct from the originator. And once the issuer of SPV receive any usufruct from the leaser, that proceeds will be distributed among the investors until the maturity of the sukuk. If there is a request to redeem the sukuk or the maturity comes, there will be the asset will be transferred back to the originator against the principal amount that was paid to this guy, and the money will be the principal amount, the par value will be given, or we call a dissolution amount, will be given back through the issuer SPV to the investors. This is how it works, like leasing back. So purchase lease back. This example is based on the first form of leasing contract. It can be just purchase lease and leasing to another third party. So in here we may have a third party as well. So this with the spot payment, we'll buy the asset from the originator and we will lease this property to the third party. Any proceeds of the money that comes from the third party will go as a distribution, periodic distribution to the investors. So the features of the underlying structure, the ijara asset and its use must be Sharia compliant, like as in all contracts. The ownership of the asset must remain with the issuer of SPV or the lessor. The only usufruct right might be transferred to the originator or lessee. So the lessee rental must be specific on an agreed rate and for agreed period. The liabilities and the risk arises that from the ownership must also rest with the trustee as the owner. Any liabilities related to the use of assets, however, rest with the originator lessee. In the event total loss to the asset, the lease contract may be terminated. If the total loss is caused by misuse or negligence of the lessee, then the lessee will be liable to compensate the lessor for depreciation, the value of the affected asset. So, sorry, there was some technical issue. Sale purchase between the issuer SPV, so it's a required. So, if the total took the place because of the misuse and the negligence of the issuer, the lessee is responsible to compensate the lessor for any deterioration in the value of the asset that has been underlined in this Sukuk certificate. So in the event of the asset has only suffered partial loss or damage, the ijara will continue to survive with respect to remaining asset. So rental should be recalculated and adjusted accordingly. So how much was loss as a partial loss in the value of the asset according to that? So for the required documentation, you don't need it to just memorize it, or you're not responsible for issue, but just giving this information to you, what kind of documents are required to go with ijara lease. It's more or less the same with coming to another principle of Sukuk certificates underlined under the wakala, al-wakala. It is the asset-based Sukuks is the last one. According to our fee, there are certificates that represent the project and activities and managed by the basis of the investment agency. So Islamic banks basically is either appointed as agent or appointing somebody as an agent to manage a specific operation on the behalf of certificate holders. So the issuer of this certificate, like issuer of SPV, is the investment agent, and the subscribers are the principals with their funds of investment. Certificate holders, they own the assets and presented by the certificates with their benefits and risks that are entitled to the profit. So wakala can be defined as a delegation of the person, like an agent, that take the place in a known and permissible dealing, any activities that may bring any profit. In this regard, the agent, the wakil, represents the deals on the behalf of the principal. So the principal is investor, appoints an agent, a wakil, to invest the funds by the principal. So under wakala sukuk, it is also permissible 2 or more types of Islamic finance contracts. So under wakala sukuk, as we can know that the wakala doesn't have this financing mode. That's why it uses the help of other contracts of financing modes, which is murabaha, ijara, and istisna, or both can be used, istisna and ijara. So we'll see how it works. Here we have SPV issuer under the wakala, sukuk al-wakala. So issuer of the SPV, it issues the prospectus, like giving a notification that there will be sukuk certificate, and that will gather all the investors into a single pool with a principal amount, with an investment amount. So the investment pay the amount of the funds to the issuer of SPV. After that, the certificates are issued to the names of the investors. So once the certificates are issued, the second step is for SPV issuer, basically for Islamic bank, to find an agent who will be making some operational issue on the basis on that services. So SPV issuer is creating trust service on the behalf of the investor and trying to find an agent who will manage the business, any asset. Or if it's ijara based, then it will be finding the property. That property will be leased, and the leased proceeds will be distributed as periodic distribution of profit. So the first step, the SPV issuer making with originator the wakala agreement, like assigning the agency. So after that, the asset sales and purchase take the place between originator and SPV. The SPV issuer transfers the money to originator who will do this operational business. Let's say they're gonna buy a property to lease it. Who is going to buy? The wakala agent is going to buy. So this guy is going to buy. To buy it, they need some certain cash. So they purchase, then delivers the assets delivers of assets for management. After that, this guy, originator, manages the wakala assets, performing some management. Let's say if it's based on ijara, leasing and receiving the money on it. If it depends on murabaha, it buys and sell it and receive the proceeds, the cost plus financing. Who receives the cost plus financing? The originator. The profit, once the profit is received, the profit payment, the portion of the profit payment goes to the SPV issuer. That SPV issuer will distribute that periodic distribution profit. If it's monthly, if it's semi-annual, if it's quarterly, whatever was agreement. Okay, so this guy pays to the SPV issuer. The SPV issuer transfer the periodic payment to this guy. And what happens next? Let's say there's a request for redemption if the maturity comes due of that sukuk. So there will be a request from the investor for redemption of sukuk. And after that, incentive, if there's any incentive that need to be paid to the originator, like he outperformed, he made a really good job for the profit, he can receive any incentives apart from the fee. By the way, the originator in this case, he's receiving a fee, being an agent, a certain fee. That certain fee should be discussed prior running any agreement, tackle agreement between SPV issuer. So what happens here then? Once the request for redemption of sukuk happens, then incentive, if there is any, this request will transfer to the originator, saying that we need to stop our contract. So what happens? The SPV issuer was the owner of the asset, but the owner was based on the trust of the investor. Now, the owner of that asset is being sold to originator back, and that originator pays the purchase price to Wakala, to the SPV issuer, and this principal amount that he received as a par value is transferred to investors at the end. This is the last stage that takes. So structure of Sukuk Wakala. So in here, the main job is what? Is to find an agent who will do the job for you based on Murabaha or based on the Ijara.
I have a question. So SPV here gets a certain fee for being an intermediary or not?
Yes, of course, he's an investment bank, like Islamic investment bank that organizes everything. He gets his fee in here, being forming a pool and everything. In this way, he's attracting the money. He's getting the profit.
Is it a fixed fee or some?
No. In here, he's not an agent. The fixed fee gets this guy. Islamic banks earns only on issuing the securities for certain fee. Plus, he may be involved as well in a profit in this transaction.
Okay. Thank you.
So the Wakala management arrangement and the Wakala asset must be within the boundaries of the Sharia principles. There should be Sharia compliant product. The subject matter of the Wakala agreement, it includes the duration of the Wakala and the type of criteria. It should be very specific and defined. How long the Wakala agreement will last. Otherwise, the Wakala agreement will not be valid. And the fees payable to the Wakil for the services that they offer must be specified and clear as well. The Wakil must be paid a fee if the nominal in order for a Wakala to be valid. So Wakala asset should comply with eligibility criteria as it done in Mudaraba and Musharaka as well. At least 33% of the portfolio of the asset should comprise of tangible assets, as Ijara requires the asset-based sukuk. And if you remember last time we discussed why there is a certain requirement by scholars and by our fee that minimum it should be 33% of portfolio assets as tangible assets. In order to ensure that continuing acceptance and credibility of the sukuk, it will be necessary to introduce a safeguards into documentation to ensure that net asset value of Ijara contracts, like share and the asset-based sukuk certificates, comprised of sukuk asset at any given date and is not less than 30% of the net asset value of the sukuk assets as tangible asset. In here we're talking. So the principal amount from underlying financial assets should never be used for services coupon payments under the sukuk. So Wakala fee can be combined with the incentive fee payable at maturity based on overall performance sukuk assets. So guys, coming back to this sukuk issue, one principle that you should remember in mind that these all activities are based on profit and loss principles. If there is a loss in Wakala assets, that means this guy, he will get his fees for performing. But who will lose? The investor. The investor lose their contributed amount money. Okay. So far we talked about asset-based sukuk. Now is the time to talk about a debt-based sukuk. So according to our fee, there are certificate equal of value with the purpose of financing the purchase of goods through the murabaha financing. So that certificate holder become the owner of the murabaha commodity. Okay, now in Sukuk, in asset based, the originator was the owner of the asset. Now in here, the certificate holders, they become basically the owner of the murabaha. How it works, we'll see it now. The issuer of the certificate is the seller, murabaha commodity, and the subscribers are the buyers with the realized funds and transfer to the SPV issuer. So certificate holders own the commodity and are entitled to a sale price, which is profit plus cost. And it's not permissible to trade in murabaha certificate after delivery of the murabaha commodity to the buyer. So the same characteristics of the murabaha structure can also be adapted for use underlying structure sukuk issuance, and sukuk proceeds from the investor may be applied by the issuer SPV to acquire that commodities and sell much commodity to the originator. So here, the structure, how it works. Same thing, issuer of SPV issues the prospectus. It collects, it invites the subscribers or investors to a pool with a certain amount of the money. The money, the funds are transferred to the issuer of SPV. So against that amount, the sukuk certificates are issued to the investors. Then issuer of SPV gets a promise from the originator, like, okay, there is a product, there is a commodity I'm going to buy, but you have to give me a promise that you will purchase from me on in the murabaha based contract. So no matter what happens, you will purchase it. Otherwise, I'm putting myself into risk. This is the Islamic bank says. I will purchase from the third party and I will resell it to you. So get a promise. It can be a down payment, guys, if we talked last time. Security deposit, just in case if the issuer of the SPV doesn't know the originator, he may ask any security deposit to be on the safe side. So once the promise is taken, another step is to sign a contract based on murabaha principle. So they're signing contract, originator and SPV issuer. After that, once the contract is signed, issuer of SPV with a lump sum money pays to the supplier to get that commodity. Let's say it is a property or car, anything that can be sold to the originator. But that commodity that the Islamic banks is buying is on the behalf of the investor. This commodity belongs to the investors because investors are buying it. But Islamic banks is like that. Islamic bank is entitled as a trustee person who will use the investors' money to buy that certain commodity. But what is that commodity? Investors, they know and they got all the information related to that commodity. So Islamic bank pays a lump sum amount of the money, receive that commodity, and delivering this asset to the originator. After some period, of course, as we said, murabaha structure is what? Selling something as a cost plus financing on a deferred basis. You're delivering the product now, but receiving the money later, but with a cost plus markup. So once the asset is delivered to the originator starts paying its periodic payments to the issuer of SPV. Once the issuer SPV receives this periodic payment, it's just automatically transferring as a periodic distribution as it was promised to the investors. So investor knows what the Islamic bank is buying, but investor, they are not involved. They are just holding the certificate. They are relaxing. Okay, whatever happens, the Islamic bank does it. But we are holding our certificates with a good profit. So they receive that money. If it matures, then there is a request from Islamic bank to stop it, that redemption, and they receive their dissolution amount back if there is a request for stopping the issuance. So they receive their principal amount or the par amount back once everything is done. Once the murabaha bought and sold to the originator for 1 year, during the 1 year they receive their money. Halas, everything is done. What happens? The originator, he owns the product. Now these guys are receiving their money, principal money back, plus they receive throughout the year the periodic distribution. Any questions?
One more question.
Yes.
One question. For instance, here you said investors are the owners of the commodity, right?
Yep.
And can they themselves buy from the supplier the commodity and give it to SPV, and then SPV can sell it to originator?
Very
can it be
good.
this way or no?
Yes, it can be, but what is the meaning then in here to have the Sukuk certificate then? And here why they are doing this, because they don't want to involve in this management issue. They say, just want to hold this certificate only. That's it. Let me get that certificate, keep it, and whatever happens this transaction, the issuer of SPV, he will manage all the channels. They are kind of passive investors. They don't want to involve in passive partners, we can say, okay? They are partners, but they are not receiving, they are not involved in these activities much. They say, we're not gonna be involved, but make our profit to happen. Make our money to work for us.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So the key features of Murabah commodity, the asset must be Sharia compliant as usual. The issuer of SPV can appoint the originator as its buying agent under buying agency agreement and to buy the commodities from the supplier and its capacities as it. So in the example that I explained here, the issuer of SPV is not appointing the originator as an agent. Issuer of SPV itself buys the commodity, but what happens? It says it can actually appoint, but it doesn't appoint, but it can. To make the job easier, but the Islamic Bank wants to earn some money as well, so that's why he just doesn't make the originator to be involved in the purchasing transaction. So the issuer of SPV must disclose cost price, the cost that is really of the product or commodity, and plus the profit margin in Murabaha sale contract as it is required actually. And deferred price must be known as a lump sum amount, and the payment must be agreed between the parties as well.
One more question. So here it says that SPV can appoint the originator as
Yeah.
a buyer, right? So if originator buys the commodity, then he's gonna get the cost plus financing, like he's gonna get the profit, and like the SPV won't get anything, it means?
Yes. SPV, he will get just for issuing security some fees for it.
Okay, okay.
Okay, coming to Sukuk al-Istisna. Sukuk istisna, we know that it's to manufacture something. We know the definition of the Sukuk of Istisna itself. So in here, the Islamic Bank can issue the security based on Istisna contract. And Istisna is the contract of sale, we said, specified item to be manufactured or constructed with obligation on the part of manufacturer or the builder, we know that, and to deliver them in the future upon the completion of the project. And while being constructed, while it's being manufactured, the buyer is entitled to pay some periodic payment. So how it works in here? Here, the Islamic bank that he organized a special entity, special purpose vehicle, issuing the prospectus, inviting the subscribers with the principal amount, with the investment funds. Once the investment fund received by Islamic Bank issues Sukuk against it. After that, signs a contract with the originator, istisna contract. Like originator is ordering as property, let's say commercial property, okay? Originator is ordering commercial property, and they are making agreement. Okay, I'm gonna sell it for $100,000, this property to you. Let me just. So it will be $100,000. The property. They make the agreement with originator. And apart from that, originator are waiting to be manufactured. Parallelly, issuer of SPV makes a parallel istisna with the contractor, with the real construction company who will construct it. And he makes an agreement, okay, I'm going to buy that property from you for, let's say, $70,000 for a period of time, okay? So they make an agreement, parallel istisna. They give a stage payment as well. They agree this payment will be done to you, will be paid to you in a while it's being constructed. I'm gonna pay like in 10 months. I'm gonna pay this much. In 10 months, I'm gonna pay this much to you. So 10 months, let's say due. Originator is agreed to pay $100,000 in 10 months, $10,000 each month. But issuer SPV will pay to contractor in 10 months $7,000. So there is a profit which is $3,000, okay? And imagine there are 3 investors. So these investors are going to receive $1,000, $1,000 each month as a periodic distribution, okay? So once the originator pays the first installment, let's say, which is 10,000, and that 10,000 is not transferred as a full amount to the contractor. It's transferred as 7,000, and which is left is 3,000. And that 3,000 will be transferred as a periodic distribution to investor as a first month. Okay? And it continues during the 10 months. And after that, let's say it's redeems and everything is done, is matured. The investor requesting for redemption of the Sukuk. So once the Sukuk is paid up fully and everything, like what happens? The issuer of SPV, the contractor is, in here the position is that, guys, that the property will be delivered in a future date because it's being constructed. So Islamic Bank delivers the property as contractor delivers it, and then the principal value of the money will be paid back to the investor that has been invested at the beginning.
So maturity of the sukuk that investors are buying will be equal to the time when the house will be built, right?
Not really. It can be based like sukuk, istisna, and ijara. How it can be, for example, when the product is completed, after istisna profit, the profit will move from istisna to ijara, from leasing. So once the property is ready, the property will be leased. So it can be based on the sukuk al istisna and ijara as well contract. But for this case, it is just sukuk al istisna, which means once the product is completed and transferred, sukuk finished. It's maturity done. It can be 5 years, it can be 10 years, it can be 1 year, and so on.
So it's not necessarily equal to the time when the house is built.
Yes.
But what if the maturity of sukuk ends earlier than the house is built? So there won't be any money to support the construction? Like
look, it can be like this. It can be in this way as well. For example, house will be constructed for 2 years. Okay, but periodical payment will be done in 5 years. So with installment. So which means that this guy will receive his property, no problem. But this investor will receive their periodical payment within 5 years. So this invested money and investment, for example, originator agreed to pay $100,000 or 1 million, let's say 1 million within 5 years, which is 60 months. Okay, 60 months he's gonna pay, even he's going to receive this in 2 years. And Islamic Bank makes agreement with the contractor that he is going to pay 700,000 with 60 months as well. So in total they're gonna make $300,000, and this guy received. So what is the benefit of the originator in this case? Once the property ready, it's if it's commercial property, once the property is ready, he will start paying this money, this periodical payment money, from his leasing, from his leased property, from his rent property. Now the rent will start to work for him, for the originator. But for the investor, they don't care. What they care to receive the periodical distribution for the property they bought. Because when the Islamic banks, they buy the property on the behalf of the investors and resell this property to originator. I mean, to manufacturing the property to originator, which signs certain contract. İstisna with a parallel istisna. The key features of it, like istisna asset must be a Sharia complaint, and the price specification for the goods or asset to be manufactured and constructed need to be specified before entering into the contract. Payment of asset have flexibility and can either be made in a different stages, corresponding to the certain stages of manufacturing, or upfront, or at the time of the delivery. The purchaser may fix the maximum time for delivery, and if the delivery is made after the scheduled completion date, then the purchaser has the right to reject the goods actually. Okay, the last sukuk, which is salam sukuk, based on salam, and salam you remember from the definition itself. Salam is selling the goods. You get the payment, full payment now, and they deliver the good later. So this is the definition of the principle of the salam. Delivering the product or commodity in the future time, however, receiving the money now. So here's an example how it works. It seems like a bit complicated, but not really. But issue of SPV, it is the same as issue of trustee, or like it will act on the behalf of the investor. So it invites the investor by issuing the prospectus. The investors, they contribute their money, they cash, principal amount, and certificate of sukuk is issued to this investor against this money. Then the third percent, what happens, the issuer of SPV, he makes an agreement of the sale agreement with the originator, but with the delivery on a different basis. So that asset will be brought to the issuer of SPV later. So after this agreement is taken place, then the issuer of SPV with the collected pool of money should pay to the originator. Sale price, immediate money, but delivering later. It can involve another originator sale, like it can be, there is no certain thing that, okay, there will be only one originator, there can be 2 or 3 or 4 originator of seller the product, okay? So that product is purchased, but will be delivered later, but the money paid immediately. So what happens in here? Now the product will be sold to originator, the third party, at some specific price while the money is being, while the product is being brought. But how they agree? They agree on the purchase price, which is totally different than the sale price, and that difference will make a profit. After that, once this money comes as a difference between the sale price and the purchase price, this will go as a periodic distribution amount to this guy. So we receive another asset. So one asset is sold to this guy. Another asset we receive will be sold to another originator. So, and we will get some exercise price as well on that. Or it can be the same originator. We can sell it back to the originator based on Sukuk, based on Tavaruk principle, which means like buying and selling back to the third party. However, the logic in here is that to buy from one originator and to sell to another one, but with the delivery of product in the future, but the payment now. You receive the payment now, delivering the product later. Any profit that you make, it's a kind of periodic distribution amount for the investors. If it matures, so the asset is delivered and the asset is being sold back to the originator, or if the originator is different, this asset is being sold and receives some money exercise price, that principal value that the issuer of SPV that received for that sale asset, and that money is called the solution amount, and that dissolution amount will be paid back to the investors. This is Sukuk al-Salam. It's not so much popular as Sukuk Ijara or Sukuk Murabaha or Sukuk Musharaka, but still it is used.
Sorry, one more question.
Yes, please.
Like the delivery price of the goods will be determined now or at the delivery date?
No. It's determined now. It's determined now. The price is determined now. The product should be certain. Product cannot be something related to agriculture.
So can it be, for instance, oil?
Actually, yes, the quality of the oil is obvious and it can be something that you can make a value now.
And what if, like, if we take current situation, for instance, when they agreed to deliver, was the price like about zero, and now, like, for instance, right, it decreased to zero, right? It became cheaper, so they will still pay the price that they agreed upon, right?
They have to pay if they sign the contract.
Okay.
So the key features of the salam goods must be share complaint, and the currency amount and the manner of the payment, salam capital must be certain and specifically known to both trustees and originator. The payment of salam capital must be made immediately or on the spot at a time of the contract. And salam asset can only be tangible goods. Sorry, it's fungible goods. It's tangible goods or individual articles which do not differ significantly, or asset manufactured by companies and can be identified by a standardized specification. Asset cannot be gold, silver, or any currency or any assets of item which originator may not held responsible, or any asset item whose value can change according to the subjective assessment, precious stones. Same thing like related to agriculture product, the value that you cannot assess now and the quantity that cannot be determined now. So the quality and the quantity of the time of delivery of the salam must be clearly known to the originator and the trustee in a manner that it removes any uncertainty and ambiguity which may lead to a dispute between these two parties. So delivery of the asset can occur periodically or by way of installments. Payment now, but the delivery can be in installments or periodically. The trustee cannot sell the salam asset before it has taken delivery of the salam asset. So delivery of the salam asset prior to the agreed delivery date is permissible. So Sukuk certificates held by the investors are generally non-tradable as represented a debt. Principal once salam asset have been delivered and provided to as a result such delivery of tangibility of the full Sukuk assets at a time. And same, it has good same requirement to satisfy the Shari requirement, which is 33 or 50% of tangibility. The liabilities associated with the salam assets remain with the originator. And only once the salam asset have been delivered to the trustee, to the liability passed to the trustee. So, so far, this is the Sukuk structures. Generally, we have it in the world. Like if you want to buy a Sukuk certificate, these are that are traded in the financial market. So the more important ones are Sukuk, Murabaha, not important ones, sorry, the popular ones, Murabaha, Istisna, Mudaraba, and Ijara. They are more popular ones. Asset-based Sukuks are 4, and debt-based Sukuk are 3. This is what you should keep in mind. This is what you should really strongly remember. So how the Sukuk structure works. This is all for this semester, we can say, about the Islamic financing. And so I'm waiting from you for presentation on Tuesday. And as we agreed on the 5th of May, we're gonna have the final examination. The Sukuk chapter, it doesn't have any calculation, so you are free from the calculation from this lecture. Only the financial products related to retail products and to corporate products of Islamic financing.
Okay.
If you don't have any questions, I'm just stopping here, stop sharing. And
one question.
Yes, please
During
go.
the final exam, we have to put the videos like so that you can see our hands as well, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it will be like a short quiz, right?
It will be more, it should be, because in the third quiz there's some thing that I didn't see, that is the desktop of your computers. In some cases I was able to see it, but in some cases I was not able to see. So I need to see the hands and your desktop, the computer that you're using.
Okay.
So we have to arrange in this
But
way.
generally it's the same, right?
Yeah, the same manner.
Okay.
How many questions are we gonna have?
For the final examination, I'm planning to ask 5 questions. Sorry, what 5 questions? No, sorry. 40% questions will be maybe multiple choice, 10 questions like in multiple choice. And 3 questions will come from open questions, open essay questions.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Out of 3 questions, there will be 2 calculation and 1 critical thinking question.
Okay.
Right. All right, Alamjan, thank you. Bye.
Bye, take care. Yes, please.
Thank you for the class.
So we should see each other's, получается, экраны компьютера при помощи телефона?
Да, вы будете использовать свой телефон, ну так поставить свой телефон, чтобы был виден ваш экран вашего компьютера и ваши руки.
Так, ладно, постараемся.
Ну, там, в принципе, сложности нет. Берете книгу, ставите, к книге прислоняете свой телефон и все.
А это не странно, что мы друг друга ответы будем видеть?
Нет, вы не будете видеть.
Ну, ладно.
Я стремянку использую, чтобы как подставку.
До свидания. С праздником вас всех.
Смотрите, я-то буду видеть ваши экраны-то. И ваши экраны будут, и вы будете писать, и все. А телефоны будут стоять со стороны. Вы же в телефоне же не будете смотреть постоянно.
Мы же не сможем, да, Excel
мало ли.
использовать?
То есть, когда вы
в
будете смотреть
компьютере?
телефон, это уже будет видно, что вы смотрите телефон.
Профессор,
Нет, Excel для calculation вы сможете использовать.
ага, хорошо. А можем мы бумагу, ручку и калькулятор использовать еще?
Да,
Пустую
да,
бумагу.
конечно.
А вот можно еще один такой нюанс? Допустим,
Да.
у нас же был второй квиз, как бы, да?
Да.
Некоторые, они, конечно, считали при помощи Excel, закончили в 2 раза быстрее и правильно, да? Просто я и еще несколько человек использовали калькулятор и вручную вбивали. Ну, на квизе это ладно, там много времени для одной задачи.
Мгм.
А, допустим, на мидтерме вы тоже такой же большой пример, где нужно будет много высчитывать? У
Нет,
меня
нет,
просто
нет, нет.
в
Нет,
компьютере нет.
смотрите. Нет, не сможет. Не буду я спрашивать. Если спрошу, там максимум там 5 лет, не уже не 10, не 20 лет.
Ну, все, спасибо, потому что это было
Мгм.
немного сложновато.
Окей.
В плане. У меня просто Excel удалился недавно, и я не могу сходить в сервис.
Окей.
Спасибо.
Пожалуйста.
А вот эти калькуляции, где вот на 5 лет, это будет относиться к multiple choice или open-ended?
Open-ended questions.
А вы там сказали еще про critical question, это тоже open-ended, да?
Все верно.